Yeah. Working, let's say, 70 hours per day. Let's say this is a question that is asked in UPSC, PSIR. You tell me what would be the critique of this by feminist. So you give me first critique because we've just done feminism. Tell me what would be the feminist critique of this. What is the first main angle you would look at it at through? That is excellent. So what is going to happen? Double burden is going to force women out of the workforce, right? So let's say if you're working 70 hours per week, so how that is about 12 hours per day. And you take away, let's say 2 hours from commuting every day, at least in Bangalore. That is 16 hours. Then you have your house duties. So you're cooking for your family, you're taking care of the family. 2 hours in the morning, you're making lunch and breakfast for them. You're coming back home, again, you're cooking dinner and everything else. 4 more hours, that is 22. No, 20. So you get the strong sleep of 4 hours per day after taking care of the family and the office. So if you are going to work 70 hours, women actually would be forced out of the workforce. So remember the Indian Express article that I sent to all of you, where they talked about this, like in the WhatsApp group. Like one of the argument was that women would be forced out of the labor force if you're going to increase or make them do 70 hours per week. All right. What would the Marxists say? Obviously, the exploitation, but theoretically, alienation. All right. How would it lead to alienation? You would be alienated. From what? From other humans. Which other humans? Family? In the sense you would not have time for your family itself. In India, anyways, I think the large number of people have made the counter argument for this also, and a large part of our uh, traditions are dying out because people are overworking. You take the example. I know people for this. Their parents have died, or one of their parents have died. In India, or at least in the Hindu community, you would have 13 days for the performance of the rituals. People do it for 4 days. That is still within the religious text. But why do you do it for the 4 days? Because you have to go back to work. You're not able to grieve properly, do your rituals properly because of overworking. A large number of the arguments that people have made is that, oh, you're doing this for the country, that it is going to lead to economic growth of the country. Fine. There is no doubt it is going to lead to economic growth of the country. It is going to add to the, like, numerically add to the GDP. But is the country only the economy? Does the country not have its culture, traditions, society, and everything? For me to make a profit for a particular company and add to their bottom line and then add to the GDP's bottom line, you're going to completely break the societal structures of that society. How are you going to take care of your family, give time to your children, to your wives, to your parents? One of the reason why there is a downgrade within the urban lives in relation to in the relationship between the parents and the child, because nobody has time for their parents. Nobody has time for their community, for their kul, and to do other things. So you're going to have a complete breakdown of the culture and the society in the country. Yes, your economy would boom. The bottom line of the country would improve. But on the long term, there would be ill effects to the society and the culture. So that is a form of alienation that would happen to the humans in relation to your family, alienation in relation to your traditions and culture. That would also emerge. You would be alienated from your traditions, cultures. Similarly, you would also be alienated from your colleagues. Oh, this person is working for 12 hours a day. Maybe I should also work for 12 hours a day. So I'll let go. So it creates a work peer pressure. My boss is working for 12 hours. I have to work for 12 hours. He's working for 14 hours. Like the minimum is now 70 hours. So 12 hours a day. Oh, at least 12 hours be there. Maybe somebody is there for 14 hours. So I have to be there for 14 hours. So peer pressure. You get alienated from your colleagues also. And similarly, what is Gramsci has said in relation to this? That the capitalist class would also be alienated from the fellow human being. So the person who owns the means of production in this, or anyone who owns the company, therefore, within this context, the person would be alienated from his own workers. He would not understand the plight and the misery that is happening with those individuals. So it is going to alienate everyone from each other within the capitalist structure. That would be the argument made by Gramsci within the larger idea of alienation. What is? What else would the historians? Yeah, you're completely alienated from the labor process. Yeah, all of this within the larger concept of alienation. Tell me another theoretical concept under which you can write this. Let's say, what would the liberals say? What would be the liberal counter argument to this? Yes, so there's no personal life, but how would you put this in theory? Like, because it's a PSI answer, you have to link it to theory. What would your personal answer be? So see it in from the perspective of Locke or maybe Mill. What would their critique be in relation to this as liberal thinkers? Again, Stani, correct, but theory. What concept from Mill and Locke would you pick up? So yes, liberty. What about liberty? So the liberal argument would revolve around liberty. But what aspect of liberty would be there? Say it again, Abhi. Like that's not an exact statement of Mill. Give me an exact statement of Mill. Let's say link it to positive concept of positive liberty in relation to Mill. Like if you link it to, let's say, positive liberty in relation to Mill, what would he say? Self-development. So what is the main outcome to have positive liberty? Self-development. Would you actually have time for self-development in such a society? And therefore, Mill would argue that by overworking or by having such huge hours, the person would not have time for self-development. Yeah. Person cannot, that's good, Surinder. Person cannot move towards, wait, higher faculties. A person would not be able to enjoy and reach his higher faculties, according to Mill. You would always be stuck in pursuing your lower faculties. Right? What would be the socialist argument for this? Like socialists should be the first one to critique this after the Marxist in relation to this. So what would be the socialist argument for this? Again, has to be in relation to theory or concept. I get theory. Tell me the theory or the conceptual framework. Because this, what you're saying is what the International Labor Organization has done. So yes, you can make the argument from ILO that they have said that this should be the minimum working hours. But give me the socialist argument for this. It's something that they can take from conceptual frameworks. Need satisfaction. Okay? So socialism would revolve around the fact of needs satisfaction. What is it that you need? So your basic needs of, let's say, sustenance, providing for your family, providing for yourself, at least that is fulfilled. But is that the only need that an individual has? You go back to the original idea of Mill that you would want to enjoy your higher faculties. The pursuit of happiness in itself has to be an important outcome of this. And if you're working for 70 hours per week, that is not something you're going to achieve. It is just not possible to achieve. All right, any other theory? What would the fascists say? Yeah. Yes, that is also correct. Socialists would also say relative social inequality would rise. Why? Because the woman would be forced out of the workforce. Relative inequality would rise because the woman would be forced out of the workforce. Let's say if we go back again to the Marxist arguments, what would be the Marxist feminist argument against this? Marxist feminist. We've talked about alienation from Gramsci and Marxist idea. Talked about feminism of double burden, but Marxist feminists, what they would say? It would theory. There's a word for this. You wrote it yesterday. Huh? It's not an aspect of forced labor. The conclusion on the paragraph that you wrote, wage slaves. People would become wage slaves. So that would be the argument given by Marxist feminists. People would become wage slaves. What else? So for Aristotle, if the person was a slave, fine. He was in the polis as a citizen, then no. What is any other theoretical concept you can add here? Apart from this, again, there are different arguments that you would not have to take from PSIR that would emerge from something you would learn in GS. Let's say the International Labour Organization. They have said that if people are overworked, it is going to lead to health problems. There have been massive studies that have been done by Harvard Medical Review and others that show that if people are overworking, it leads to higher levels of anxiety. It leads to higher levels of heart disease. So that is also an outcome of overworking. Right? So health problems would also be there. So it may not fit completely within the concept of PSIR theory in itself, but it does emerge within, let's say, IGP and IR theories. Yeah, that would also be there. Hana Dent's lesser time to work in concert. So it would actually come in the relation to alienation, in the sense you don't have time for your community itself. Like, if I want to work in deliberative democracy, participate in deliberative democracy, would I have time? No. The only thing I would function in a democracy as a participant only, as a participatory. So once every 5 years, because it's a national holiday, I would go out and vote. But would I have time to deliberate on those democratic matters? No. So deliberative democracy would be unlikely. Similarly, therefore, substantive democracy would also become unlikely. Because as an individual, I would not have time to take part in all of them. So according to Aristotle, a citizen would not have time to participate within the polis itself. Yes, for a slave to work for this much, that is not a problem according to Aristotle, but for citizens, not possible. So he cannot reach his higher self. Yeah, no time for dialectics. Any other thing? If you write this answer, I'll actually get to know, or at least the examiner, you're very against the idea of working 70 hours. So what would be the pro argument for this then? What? So economic productivity at the end of the day, right? That is one pro argument, that it is going to ensure economic productivity for the country. It is also going to increase the skill of the individuals who are going to learn more. Work 12 hours, you're more likely to learn more. You're going to learn through experience itself, which is again going to add to the productivity of that country. But that also relates to a Marxist problem. People, I think, have made the argument that you work 70 hours so to become more productive. So what is going to happen when you become more productive? You would be paid better, right? And this would go back to the Marxist argument that what is going to happen in such a scenario, even if you become more productive, you're paid more. You still would be part of then the labor aristocracy. You may rise to the top, but you're still part of the labor aristocracy. You do not actually fall within the bourgeois class itself. So you're still going to be a labor aristocrat in such a scenario. And secondly, there's a problem within the IT sector itself. Fine, I'll work for 70 hours. Are you going to bill your customer or your client for 70 hours of work? Because most of the clients are from Europe or the US, or at least the Western world. And that is what is the problem within the IT sector within the past 10 years. Because the junior engineers that enter, their salary has only increased from, I think, from 2.5 lakhs to about 3.5 lakhs within the last 10 years. So not a major difference has increased in those aspects. So assuming all of this, are you now be able to write a much more holistic and comprehensive answer on any topic within PSIR? Yeah. Yeah, because I don't think any theory would be pro this. All the theories that we're learning in PSIR, except maybe the fascist argument, none of the theories would be pro this. So that is where the problem lies. So that is not maybe a question maybe UPSC would ask. Or even if they ask, right? Large part of this, as per the Indian laws, it does not work. We do have minimum hours for which a worker has to work in India. And International Labour Organization also has this. And there are far too many arguments not to do this. Let's say if a question is asked on dowry, you're still not going to look for the pro arguments of dowry in itself. No, even though in some theory they might be there. Maybe so you've said now in relation to this, the economy would be more productive. There is no doubt it is going to increase the bottom line of the country and therefore the bottom line of India's GDP. There is no doubt about that. You're also going to learn more as terms of experience. So let's say if you're a young person, maybe in your early 20s, yes, it makes more sense. I did this, everyone I know do this, you're doing this. So it makes sense, yes. When you entering into the workforce, you spend a little more time that from experience you're able to learn more from others and from education itself. So yes, there are certain pro points to this, but there are larger negative context to this. So from the feminist argument, the liberals, the socialists, the Marxist, Gramscian, there are a lot of counter arguments. But PSI answer, it has to be there for. You understand all of the arguments that you were giving me, they were correct in themselves, but they were not linked to theories or concepts. That is going to make your answers better.